today I want to play a little bit with my stamp sets again, and they're, first of all, they're available at ESSIE, Alyona Creates. If you're new to this channel, I have a bunch of different stamps and things in my shop, so have a look. I've got some Wildflowers, so these are still available. They're the smaller stamp sets, so 4 different designs, and then of the same size I have the florals and the face of the day. I haven't played with the florals for a while on this channel, so I will be doing that soon as well. And then if you are quite crafty or perhaps want to try something different, I also have 4 stencils available in sort of really intricate floral designs. Okay, so, and then also acrylic blocks, and there are, as of today, there are only 6 of my handmade watercolor sets left, so have a look if you are interested. Okay, that's a little update for my Etsy shop. So on days like today, which is or in general lately actually, so I've got my stamp set ready here. In the situation that we are stuck at home and want to be creative, some of us are good at drawing, some of us are not, and that's when these clear stamps come in handy. So basically they really help those that love to create something, or like, you know, use watercolors or coloring or anything that is beyond drawing, but find the drawing stage of things quite challenging. So as you saw, I just decided to put that over there to cover the mark I accidentally made with my ink pad. So all the info will be provided below. Okay, so I am going to first of all stamp the face. Okay, so I want to do, today I feel like doing Mickey Mouse ears, so I'm going to use the bun, and what I'm going to do is I'm using 2 of my acrylic blocks, so this is the large one and this is the smaller one, and they fit like the smaller one fits all of these images in, except for the face. So if you want one for all, then this would fit everything, but I like to work with the smaller images as well. So let me just put that somewhere here. Okay, so as always, actually I completely forgot I was going to do something different or try something different today. So let me just finish the Mickey Mouse ears, and then, so originally what I wanted to do is I wanted to start by creating a watercolor wash, and totally forgot. So what I'm going to do now is actually, yeah, I'm going to use my own watercolors. So if you're new, you're going to see them in action. So I've got 4 colors. So this one is the Perfect Peach, Scarlet Red, Tropical Sunset, and Lemonade, Pink Lemonade, I think. And let's see. Yeah, I got them all right. So I'm going to use a 10-0. Actually, my water is really quite dirty, so I'm gonna go change my water and then come back. Okay, so I'm back. I mentioned before that there is something new coming your way soon. One of the things is I'm preparing a online course, which is the first one I'm doing. So it's all in the making. I'm just finished planning everything, and I'm super excited because I always enjoyed sort of teaching, and I found that if I really wanted to go to that depth of teaching and explaining that I feel needs to be doing, then my YouTube videos would be just extremely long. And you know, it's just how the demographic works. Some viewers like it to be quite long, some like the videos to be nice and short. So we have to, as makers, consider all of that, you know, to make sure everything works well here on YouTube, etc. So we obviously want to have viewers, and the more views we get, the better it is for the channel and subscribers, etc, etc. So kind of, you know, need to keep things like that in mind. So I feel that really creating an online course when I can just really take all that time explaining and teaching you things. So yeah, it's something that's been on my mind for a long time, and I finally decided to go ahead with it. And I can't reveal just yet what the class is going to be about, but as it is my first one, I want it to be loads of fun, and I want it to be quite accessible in terms of skill level. So it's not going to be something very complicated, and something that like anyone could just pick up and do. So yeah, I don't know when that class will be ready, but I'm working on it now. Just wanted to let you know that there is something that hopefully you can look forward to. Okay, so let's see. So what I have done here is essentially a wash. It's a little bit of a controlled wash because I already did a placement of the face. So originally what I wanted to do is just a simple kind of, actually you need a bigger brush for that. So I would recommend a flat brush for a wash. So let me go ahead actually and start again. So a nice flat brush. This is as big as I'd go. It's a 3/4 inch Icon Jackson's brush. I am in love with Jackson's brushes, and yeah, love the design, love the quality. I mentioned it many times before. In fact, I link all of my favorite brushes down below, so you can have a look if you want it. So these are half pans, so they're not going to be very comfortable for a large brush, but essentially that's what I wanted. I wanted a nice kind of bloppy wash, and basically then you can control it a little if you wanted to. So here's the face. I know I want it to be darker on one side, and that's essentially what I'm doing here. So a little bit of pink, a little bit of that. Now obviously you're going to have these brush marks, which is something that's quite stylized, so I quite like it. If you don't like them, go back in with a round brush and just break up kind of these lines here and there if you wanted to. So for instance, you know, just create a softer edge if you wanted to. I quite like these at the bottom, so I'm going to keep them. Okay, so that's enough water, keeping in mind this paper it gets challenged very quickly. So this is Khadi Papers, and the one that I have with the soft cover, I find it not as good as the one with the hard cover, which is much better. This one is a bit inconsistent, so I keep mentioning it. Okay, now I'm going to dry everything. So in terms of the soft cover, I also have a small sketchbook. Let me just grab it quickly. So I've got this one here, which I use for the patterns. I don't seem to have the same issue on this paper. The pages they seem to be consistent, but this one is not. I don't know whether it's just my one like that or not. So that's done. Now the next thing I'm going to do is stamp out the eyes, and so you can see I've done a very light wash of watercolors, so colors that essentially could be quite useful for the skin tone. So it's somewhere to start already. We're not starting with a white background, if that makes sense. What do I feel like today? I'll do these eyes. They're quite mysterious. And I'm going to stamp these. And okay, so usually I actually like to stamp first the lips, because that gives me a very good indication where the eyes should go. I don't like the eyes to be too far. I actually like them to be halfway or lower if you draw a line of the face. Watch some of my tutorials, you might find them quite useful. I should do a separate playlist, come to think, actually, so it's easier for you to find. And then here we go. Oh, that is quite crooked. Okay, so I'll have to restamp that and I'll correct it thereafter. Okay, so this mouth needs to go about there. Okay, now the brows. Now the brows. Okay, so let's do these set brows. And one could think that right now, because we are in a lockdown, there's loads of time. In some situations there is, but in our situation, my husband works full time. He has an office set up upstairs, and so some days he can give me some time off. We have a 4-year-old boy, and then some days I don't have that time off. So today I have a little bit of time off, so I have to really manage my art within the time that I have available to myself. And yeah, so I do the best that I can, and obviously, you know, a lot of people are in the same situation. So let's see, now what I would like to do is okay, I'm going to do really fine lining. Okay, so I'm going to use the Muji 025 and just the finest line you can think of. Usually I like to use colored inks in like a red or a brown, but today let's do something different. So this the ink in this pen is water soluble, so keep in mind that if you wanted to go over with watercolor thereafter, it's going to all kind of bleed. So that's that. So let's go on to the eyebrows. Because I have stamped the image, I kind of know what the eyebrows are, so it's easy for me to follow. But it feels like I'm doing my own sort of drawing, if that makes sense. So it kind of gives you that liberty of, you know, extending certain lines, or use what you have. So if you are feeling a bit lazy that day, just use what you have already stamped out. If you feel a bit more adventurous, maybe do your own thing, put your own spin onto things. Okay, so this is quite sort of illustrative style because it has that black outline. And remember the lip, so I'm going to line out the lip that I want in the right placement. So the other one was a bit to the side. Okay, so there we go. So this is quite stylized. To be honest, I don't know where I'm going with this yet, but I do like the style already. It's just a simple black fine line on a watercolor background, which is quite sort of subtle. Okay, so at this point what I could do is just I'll give her these eyelashes actually, which I haven't done in a long time. My signature eyelash, I like to think of it. And then I'm going to think of a fringe. So the shape of the fringe is going to be this. I'm going to do lots of fine lining, actually. That's what I feel like. It's super therapeutic. So I'm going to start by thinking, if there is an autofocus, I'm just going to switch it off so that it doesn't jump around for you. Sometimes I forgot to do it. Okay, so basically line work is just repeating a line and giving a sense of like hair and a bun shape. I call these the Mickey Mouse ears, but essentially this is meant to be like 2 buns on the sides. Okay, then also think about dimension of things. So when you think of an apple and the shadows always go right to the side. Think of the light source as well. So my shadow is going to be on that side. A little bit also on the other side of the circle, because it needs to look like a dimensional shape, right? So just add a little bit here as well and fill in wherever you think is just a bit too sparse there. So there we go. A bit more. Always make a little pause, kind of almost stand back and look at it. Okay, so I'm going to leave this other, I was going to say ear, but it's not ear. I'm going to leave it for a minute. So the teeth are quite light and quite bulky. So fringe, so the same thing, start in the middle and then basically always find your middle, same thing with the bun, and then just carry on like that all the way here, like so. There we go. And then Mason has I've been doing like preschool with him in the mornings, and then for half an hour I gave him this craft exercise of making an owl. So my punches, circular punches, came to good use. We punched out loads of different colors, and then he sort of was sticking them down with glue, and so I did half of it, and then my husband joined in to stay with him for the remaining part. So I think he must have finished by now, so I'm gonna go and have a check in a minute. Okay, so basically I actually really love her the way she is. I might add a bit of penciling just on the face to kind of bring her from the background, lift her a little bit. Okay, so let me just finish this bun here. So I'm just gonna go do the same thing, vary the line slightly, or try them straight, you know, nothing wrong with straight. It's going just to have a different style to it, that's all. And then just a few extra lines right at the edges. So this is something you could do when you're a little bit pressed on time or don't have that much time. But of course, if you slow down, it becomes a lot more relaxing. So whenever you're doing line work, the slower the better, really. But I'm trying to say, it's not something that will take you forever. If you wanted to speed up a little bit, you could do it. Okay, pretty happy with that. So the final thing, I'm going to pull out my beloved pencils and be back. Okay, so at this point you could pick your own tools. So if you don't have pencils, or if you're not a big fan pencils, although if you're not a big colored pencils fan, I do urge you to buy a few open stocks, just your favorite colors. Because these are amazing. I wasn't into pencils before, so these are the Faber Castell Polychromos, and they're gorgeous. Let me just go back to auto. Okay, so if you don't have them or if you don't want to use them, think of any other tool that you have. So in this case it could be Tombows, but keep in mind these are water soluble, so if you used make sure then you use a waterproof ink in that case if you're considering. You can use pastels, like oil pastels, water soluble pastels. You can do loads of things at this point, okay, or even, you know, watercolor. But I'm just going to go ahead and use some of the pencils. So what I find quite useful is to pick out a few colors that I want to include, and not necessarily will I use all of them, but I'm just giving myself a bit of an idea of what I want. And for a lip I want something, yeah, that's a good color right there. Okay, so I've got a color palette here, as you can see. I will start with skin probably. So these are going to be my skin colors. These are three: cinnamon, terracotta, and sanguine. Okay, I'll start with the lightest on this side because it matches the watercolor really well. And just using more pressure to one side, and as I'm going to the center of the face, less pressure. So I'm just going to do that. Also circular motions so that you don't end up with these harsh pencil marks. Just blending it out. Can you start seeing? So if you concentrate on this line, can you see how it's starting to lift, kind of separate from this line here, just by doing a little bit of that. Then I'm going to go into this color, which seems to be a good match. So I'm looking at the colors that are already there. Because they're already there and they're helping me, I'm using them. Otherwise, if they weren't there, then you just can go ahead with any color that you want. So when you're doing that watercolor wash, like I said, do a bit of a strategic one. So do a random wash and then more where the face is, add some more colors there. I'm going to go down below here. Now I do love a bit of darkness underneath the eyes, so I'm just going to create a little bit more shadowing. So a bit more shadowing here, like that. And so this part here could take quite a bit of time to perfect it, and the other thing is it's good to also take a little break and come back to it. Then I'm going to go into the darker color. So this is all about blending and layering all these colors like so, and then the more you do that, the more dimensional it will start looking. So I'm just going to also go with this darkest color out of the three that I'm holding right underneath, and just create a line and then start adding less pressure and just move it out down below like so. And then again closer to the eyelid, more pressure, and then less pressure down and underneath. And then I could also take the same technique right into the corner. So hopefully you can start seeing a little bit of a difference there. So I might mix it with this warm color, just a little tiny bit, like that. And as I'm looking at it, I feel like I want more darkness, more intensity. So I'm going to really push hard. And then just with circular motions. All right, so I think I'm going to take a little break here and then come back and look at it with fresh eyes. But I already like it quite a bit. So let's leave it at that. Give yourself a little break, go make yourself a nice cuppa, and then we will look at it again. Okay, so I had a little break, I had a bit of lunch and made myself a tea. And before, I kind of didn't like finishing or leaving a project unfinished and taking a break. I wanted to finish and then get on with other things. Nowadays, I really learned, especially with this lockdown situation, I've learned to really be relaxed about things and just take it by the moment, you know. And I find it actually quite useful to step away and come back and look at things with fresh eyes. So I'm going to now darken a few things just slightly. So this is a much darker color compared to the ones before that I used. So I'm going to use it really light-handed, as you can see. Tiny little bit of it makes a big impact. It really goes from 0 to 200 if you start pressing hard immediately. So I'm just very, very light-handed, going over it, just darkening ever so slightly in some areas. Like that. Okay, so there's also, I feel like adding a little bit of it just on this side of the lid and under. Like that. Okay, so and also taking it up a little. Okay. So now I want to do the lips and then look at everything else later. So this is a middle cadmium red. This is a beautiful red. And I like it to be quite sort of dark. And again, I'm not going to use just one color. I will use a combination of pressure and also maybe 1 or 2 more colors to create a beautiful pout. I'm leaving a highlight at the bottom of the lip, so like that. And do I have a darker red? No, but I have a lighter one. So the lighter, the more red, which is a scarlet red, is going to go into the middle of the lip, like that. And then again, with a bit more pressure with the darker color, I'm going to go into the corners of the lip. And hopefully you can now start seeing a little bit of dimension to this. Now I'm going to go into this darkest color that I just used for the skin and also layer it just at the very corners of the lip, as I don't have a darker red than these two, which is absolutely fine. So use the same dark color, it will be quite harmonious in terms of a color theory, to have the same color repeated. So now you can see adding a little bit of this darker brown just into the corners. And now again with this bright red going just in the middle of the lip, like that. There we go. So that looks quite pretty. I feel like I want to add a bit of a blush, so I've got these two oranges here. I'm going to start with the lightest color. Actually, I want this yellow, which is like a mango yellow. Love this one. This is dark chrome yellow. It blends beautifully with skin tones and just adds a lovely little peak of color here and there. So I do like using it throughout the face in certain areas, just kind of adding this color here and there. I just feel like I want a little bit of color and depth on this side of the lid. It's a little bit too light, so I'm going to go ahead and darken it a little, just a little tiny bit, and again just blending things out a little like that. Okay, I'm going to take this darkest color and darken in a few of the lid areas, so like here. And the lighter color just blend it out. Okay, back to the blush. So roughly around here, just these kind of circular blush areas like that, and then just a bit more orange, very light-handed, because I don't want this to be clashing with the red that we have there. I'd rather actually go back to these three colors or four colors and make the blush similar color to the darker colors around there. Okay, so just dark a little bit. Maybe, so I'm just going to shadow or bring a little dimension to them just on one side like that, like this. Now I have moved on to the tooth. As you can see, the teeth are not white, and the reason for it is being that it's the paper. I actually quite like it. I mean, you could try and put some white, but I feel it's just going to change the whole, you know, balance of this thing. So I'm just going to go into the eyes now and use water-soluble graphite. So it's very, very soft. This one is the 6B. I really like when the graphite is super soft, so you don't need to apply that much pressure. And then I'm not even going to bother to make a brush dirty. I'm just going to go into water, pen tool, water brush, and just pull it out a little. If there's too much of the graphite, just wipe it onto something off and pick it up, and that's it. So don't want too much darkness in the eyes. So I'm actually quite happy at this point. You could go ahead and do more shading, more. In fact, I haven't done the neck, so I could do a little bit of the shadowing here, just under, just a little bit on the chin, and then a little here again, just to bring it out from the paper, like that. And then I'm just going to add these couple of the colors from the face, just to again pull it all together like that. And then just a very thin line with the darkest yet on one side and under the chin, and then use the lightest color and just blend the whole thing. So something like that. Okay, so that is it. That's a lovely little, I would consider it a finished piece. So if you would do this on a cut piece of paper, you could actually frame it. It just looks really gentle and subtle and kind of, you know, it has a background to it. The skin tone was helped with the background. On top you just layered a few pencils. You could go ahead and do a bit of that blending on top of the line or in between the lines, on the hair as well. So yeah, you could just carry on building up if you wish to do that, but I'm really happy with the look of it. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching and see you soon.